From the adrenaline-fueled realm of John Wick coming to an end, to a lack of acting chops that made him the greatest bad actor in Hollywood, these are the real reasons Keanu Reeves needs to retire. For one, John Wick is over. Or at least it seems to be, thanks to our hero's unfortunate death. And side note, it broke my heart. Seeing the Baba Yaga take his last breath was a shock that most fans are still reeling from. But what's done is done. And if it really is the end of Keanu's iconic role, I think it's time we face the music. If a John Wick 5 does end up hitting our screens, it won't be for a while, which will give Keanu some much-needed time to rest. Because it's no secret that films like these take a toll on actors in a way that none of us can imagine, especially actors who do their own stunts like Keanu. Because even though he looks like he hasn't aged a day over 35, he's actually 58. This is a solid reminder that sooner or later, Keanu will have to stop killing people with pencils, falling down multiple flights of stairs, and pick up a book or a hobby that doesn't require riding a horse into traffic, or anything that could physically harm him. But right now, I want to get to my second reason for why it's time for the internet's favorite boyfriend to wrap up his career. And it's the fact that Keanu is too precious. The last thing fans want to see is him ending up paralyzed after pulling off some crazy stunt. Nobody wants to see something like that happen to Hollywood's nicest leading man. Over the years, his fans have obsessed over his random acts of kindness and the way he interacts with people. Some have said that he's too good to be true, but they're wrong. In a world where celebrity and fan interactions can range from embarrassing to downright scary, Keanu comes off as a genuine and down-to-earth guy. And it's hard for some fans to believe that he's being real. Everyone remembers the time he made headlines giving up his seat to a passenger on the subway because she was holding a heavy bag. And I mean, that's something that even average people don't do anymore, let alone movie stars. One time, Keanu visited a theater in Sydney, Australia on a quiet Wednesday morning because he wanted to watch Johnny Depp's From Hell. And there's this 16-year-old kid standing inside the box office who was so starstruck when Keanu walked up to the window that he could barely get a word out. Extremely nervous and unable to process what's going on, the kid offered Keanu an employee discount for his ticket. And he calmly replied, "I don't work here." After buying the ticket, Keanu went into the theater, and the kid was really upset that he forgot to ask him for his autograph. But to his shock and surprise, 2 minutes later, there was a knock at the door, and it was Keanu. He told the kid, "I realized you probably wanted my autograph, so I signed this." He'd signed the back of a concession receipt and gave it to him. That's the kind of man he is. He's clearly not your typical run-of-the-mill celeb. I mean, who does that? And that's why I don't want the world to lose him in some wild stunt gone wrong. So it'd be nice to see him get away from the Baba Yaga persona, venture into either dramatic, comedic, or romantic roles, or retire altogether. We've seen Keanu work his magic in those genres in the past. And at this point, it'd be great to see him go back to those roots. Don't forget, his breakthrough role was in 1989's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which is a far cry from his violent work in John Wick or Constantine, and proves that he's capable of a lot more than action projects that gave him his tough guy persona, cause we all know Keanu's a real softie. And because of that, I say he should go back to choosing characters that he can naturally fit in from here on out. Then he won't go off saying how acting isn't fun for him anymore, which is what he said in a promotional tour for John Wick Chapter 4. Fans were shocked by his statement, and right away the hashtag #ThankYouKeanuReeves started trending on Twitter. They shared their favorite Keanu memories, roles, and stories, and it was clear that hearing him say he was tired of acting wasn't something they wanted to hear, especially from their favorite star who's at the height of his career. I think he got the message loud and clear, but let's be real. If Keanu thinks he's grown out of his roles and doesn't find acting as exciting as he used to, it's up to him to decide if he wants to hang up his acting boots, even if it's just for action projects. He could still pull a Harrison Ford and keep going till he's 70, only choosing roles that he thinks are a good fit, like the voice of Batman in DC League of Super Pets, or the role of Frank in Destination Wedding. And until he finds those roles, Keanu always has his other businesses to keep him entertained. John Wick paid him well for sure, But he didn't become the millionaire that he is today from acting alone. He's got a sharp business mind in that handsome head of his. And he's launched 2 very successful companies, one of which is a production house called Company Films that was involved in making the first John Wick. Then there's his passion project, Arch Motorcycle, a luxury brand that makes custom motorbikes and clothes for biker heads like him. And not just any biker heads, but those who can afford a single bike worth over $70,000. So when I say Reeves is set for life if he leaves Hollywood, I'm not mincing words. His businesses make more money for him than any minor acting role ever could. So why would he want to keep working if he could just rest in millionaire peace for life? And if that doesn't pan out, he's also got a backup career as a poet to fall back on. That's right. Brutal assassin with a kill count of 439 is an author in real life. He wrote Ode to Happiness, a picture book for grown-ups, as a private joke between him and his friends. They were hanging out at his house one night, listening to his wonderfully sad and self-pitying songs, a situation that already looks like it's straight out of a sitcom, and right then and there, Keanu started writing a poem about himself. It started with, "I draw a hot sorrow bath in my despair room," which was such a funny line that he kept going on about his regret shampoo, pain soap, I hate myself face cream, and Alone Again silk pajamas. His friends were so blown away by his work that they got it hand-stitched in a book, with ink drawings from Los Angeles artist Alexandra Grant. Keanu was so happy with the gift that he decided to share it with the world. And that's the story of how he became an author. He's also got a comic book series to his name called Berserker, which he's written with Matt Kint. It's a story about Berserker, an immortal warrior fighting through different ages. And if you're still taking the comic lightly, let me tell you that its first issue alone sold 600,000 copies. I gotta say, Keanu sure knows what he's doing out there, and it's not all about acting, which is great, because not everyone thinks he's a good actor. Some have even called him the greatest bad actor in Hollywood, which is a compliment as much as it's not, because even his haters know what a stand-up guy he is, and that's why they can't call him a bad actor right away. So instead, he's called the greatest bad actor, which means they know he's a great human being, but his acting chops leave a lot to be desired. Fans and critics say that all the characters he plays are so similar that they've started blending together, and that's made his acting boring and repetitive. John Wick fans also know that he doesn't have many speaking lines in the films, and only had 103 lines in Chapter 4, so his line delivery has been called choppy and odd, which is true for a movie only focused on action like John Wick. But have these criticisms seen him in Toy Story, Parenthood, or Much Ado About Nothing? Because he shined bright like a diamond in those for sure. So even if Keanu does need a break from acting, there's no way he's a bad actor in any way. He's excelled at every role he's taken. And if that's not a sign of a guy who needs to take some time out for himself, I don't know what is. So, from a lack of acting chops that made him the greatest bad actor in Hollywood, to the adrenaline-fueled realm of John Wick coming to an end, those were the real reasons Keanu Reeves needs to retire.